Welcome to the April 2023 Star Wars Canon Update. Last month we finished Season 3 of The Mandalorian, Star Wars Jedi Survivor released, we got 2 High Republic books and 11 new comics. A big month, so let's dive in. The Mandalorian ended its 3rd season with Guns for Hire, The Spies, and The Return. These episodes were kind of all over the place for me, but each was entertaining in their own way. The Spies was one of the absolute best episodes of the series in my opinion, and despite having criticisms of The Return, it really was a fun episode with some great action, and I'm happy to see the Mandalorian people making their way back home by uniting and working together. I've reviewed each of these episodes individually as well as the entire season. If you want to check those out, I'll put links to them in the cards. Star Wars Jedi Survivor just came out a couple days ago, so I'm not going to talk about any story details, but the game is a lot of fun, and I would say a huge step up in gameplay from Fallen Order. I've done a spoiler-free review on Survivor already, which I'll link to, and I'll be covering the story in a full spoiler video later this week. Cataclysm by Lydia Kang was the final adult novel of Phase 2 of the High Republic, and it was awesome. Phase 2 overall was a bit of an adjustment period for me, but wow, did Cataclysm bring it all to a satisfying conclusion. Of sorts, because the phase isn't over, but if it was, I would be content. In the aftermath of the Battle of Jeddah, several Jedi and the rulers of Irem and Derino begin investigating the path of the open hand independently, leading them all to Dalna, and then violence erupts. The Leveler is set loose, it's chaos in the best, most High Republic way. If you liked The Rising Storm, I would consider Cataclysm to be very similar in structure. A lot of tense, great build-up in the first half, and then a bunch of action, fear, and tragedy in the second. I'll link to my full review in the cards if you want to hear more. If you want to get Cataclysm for free on Audible, you can by following the link in the description or by visiting audibletrial.com/Star Wars Explained. Quest for Planet X by Tessa Gratton was the final middle-grade book of Phase 2. It featured a race to find the mysterious homeworld of the nameless creatures introduced in Phase 1 that can petrify Jedi, but that part of the story mostly served as a tease for what I think we'll see in Path of Vengeance, as the story shifted to become more involved with the Battle of Dalna and Cataclysm. It was good, on par with other middle-grade books. They usually don't tell the biggest stories, but they do follow fun characters, and I really enjoyed Sky Graph. The High Republic era was in desperate need of a good graph. Quest for Planet X is also available right now on Audible. In the High Republic issue 8, Vildar Mak and Tay Sarek finally reach an understanding as they work together to save Olivia after she was stabbed in the back at the end of the previous issue. They get her stable and find the Herald, joining the Rod of Seasons with the Rod of Daybreak, which should give the Path of the Open Hand even more control over the Leveler, a theory they test on an unfortunate Jedi Master. Nameless Terror Issue 2 continued to be enjoyable, and is probably one of the more intense, all-ages Star Wars comics I've read. Some Jedi and Republic Pathfinders are stranded on a planet with some Disciples of the Path and one of the Nameless creatures, and they're all struggling to survive. We learn that the Nameless will attack non-Force sensitives, or at least I don't recall knowing that before now, and we got one of our best looks at them so far as it bears down on 2 Jedi trying to cut their way into a ship. Quest of the Jedi is a one-shot comic by Claudia Gray that was really interesting. It took us even further into the past to hint at the origins of the Rods of Seasons and Daybreak. Basically, they are pieces of something called an Echo Stone, which was able to enhance someone's abilities in the Force, kinda like the original Kyber Crystal from the Legends book Splinter of the Mind's Eye. The Echo Stone was corrupting the people who lived near it, so a Jedi Master split it and scattered its pieces across the galaxy, and now the Path of the Open Hand have begun collecting them all. Star Wars Issue 33 took us to the end of the Kezerak colony arc and the connections with the High Republic era. Luke and the others retrieve a Nihil Path engine and hook it up to the colony to get those that want to return to the known galaxy a chance. Luke's lightsaber is damaged during the adventure, and it still works, but he decides it's time for him to make his own, which I am very psyched about. I think we'll finally learn where his green Kyber crystal came from in canon. Hidden Empire Issue 5 was the final piece of the Kira trilogy of comic series, and I think it ended things on a strong note. Kira attempts to trap Sidious and Vader in the Fermata cage, but the Knights of Ren betray her and ruin the plan. Palpatine kills most of them anyway, and demands the rest serve him, which answers some questions about the sequel trilogy. Crimson Dawn is destroyed and Kira escapes, but Luke admits that she did help the galaxy, just not in the way she intended, because it was Crimson Dawn agents that leaked the construction of a second Death Star to the Rebellion, which is what I've been saying for months now. It's nice to have that vindication. We also see that Kira survived and was able to experience the Empire's fall, even though she is completely alone. It's very bittersweet, which I liked. Dr. Aphra issue 30 tied into the conclusion of Hidden Empire, seeing the Spark Eternal face off against Darth Vader, which of course means it's finally knocked out of Aphra, with a little help from her friends. I think this brings us to the end of the Possession storyline, and I am ready to move on. Bounty Hunters issue 33 was very cool. Inferno Squad was brought into the story a few issues ago, but this is the first time they've interacted with our protagonists face to face, and it's going well for them. Iden incapacitates Tonga and gets a restraining bolt on 4-LOM so she can sneak aboard the ship undetected, which is our cliffhanger. A simple story, but an exciting one to read. Sana Staros issue 3 was a fun ride, literally. Sana joins Diva Lompop on a mission to liberate a Rancor from a prison-like zoo, and in return, Diva agrees to help the Staroses on their mission to recover Avon's lost journals. She also mentions a vow she made long ago to protect the Staros family, which I bet we'll see in the High Republic's third phase. Yoda issue 6 brought a conclusion to the second mini-arc of the series concerning the visions of a Wookiee Padawan. He lets his fear consume him until he attacks his fellow Padawan, a Trandoshan he thinks will fall to the dark side. I love Yoda's words that the dark side is ever present in the Force and in every Jedi. Its temptations are always present and will always be a danger to every member of the Order. Victory over the dark side isn't a one-time event that lasts forever, it's a daily battle. Even though you expect wisdom from a comic all about Yoda, I've still enjoyed his messages. The Ewoks one-shot celebrating Return of the Jedi was incredibly charming. There are barely any words in the entire issue outside of titles and sound effects, and yet the pages still told one heartwarming story, one terrifying tale, and one of inspiration and hope that gave us some new backstory for the Ewok Peekpa. And it's all tied together with a message on the power of stories. Writer Alyssa Wong and artists Lee Garbett, Hava Tartaglia, Paulina Ganusho, Kyle Hotz, Rachel Rosenberg, and Caspar Wingard all created something special and unexpected together. Darth Vader Black, White, and Red issue 1 was kind of interesting. 3 different short stories in one issue. It felt kind of like a comic version of Star Wars Vision, centered around Vader, focused on artistry and color. The stories didn't do a ton for me personally, but the art was certainly interesting. For Story of the Month, I've gotta go with the Spies episode of The Mandalorian. Like I said, it's one of my favorites of the entire series, and it'll also be a special memory of mine getting to watch it at Star Wars Celebration London with a room full of fans. In May, we're getting another new High Republic book, Path of Vengeance, a High Republic manga, the Young Jedi Adventures animated series, and there are 21 comic issues on the schedule, but those have been changing their release dates every single month, so probably not that many. We're also getting Star Wars Visions Volume 2, which won't be canon, but you can still expect us to cover it. But that's it for April. The Canon Update will be back in early June to cover all those new stories. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel to keep up with our daily Star Wars coverage, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.